Good morning everybody, welcome to our latest Jackanory episode. You'll find me today here in one of our cupboards, one of our sheds within school. It's important we're here today because this part of the story involves George moving into the family shed at the farmhouse. As ever, as I always say every day, remember this is just a story. It's not something that you should really do. And in particular today, we're talking about funny animal pills that do strange things. Always remember, you listen very carefully to adults' advice around medicines and what should be done at home. This is just a bit of fun. Here we go. This chapter is called Animal Pills. At this point, George suddenly had an extra good idea. Although the medicine cupboard in the house was forbidden ground, what about the medicines that his father kept on the shelf in the shed next to the hen house? The animal medicines. What about those? Nobody had ever told him that he mustn't touch them. I mean, let's face it, George said to himself. Hairspray, shaving cream, shoe polish, they're all very well, and they will no doubt cause some splendid explosions inside the old geezer. But what the magic mixtures now need is a touch of the real stuff. The real pills, real tonics to give it some punch and to give it some muscle. George picked up the heavy saucepan that he'd filled the previous day, and he carried it out of the back door. He crossed the farmyard and headed straight for the shed. One just like this. He knew that his father wouldn't be there. He was out haymaking in the meadow. George entered the dusty old shed and put the saucepan on the bench. Then he looked up at the medicine shelf. There were 5 big bottles there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 were full of pills. And he shook them up and down to see what they might be. 2 of them were full of runny stuff, strange kinds of mixtures. I'm going to use them all, George thought. Grandma needs them. Boy, does she need them. The first bottle that he took down contained an orange-coloured powder. It was a strange-looking powder, and the label read, "For chickens with foul pest, hen gripe, sore beaks, gammy legs, cockroachites, egg trouble, broodiness or loss of feathers. Mix 1 spoonful only with each bucket of feed." Well, said George aloud to himself, I'm going to have the whole bottle full of that. The old bird won't be losing any feathers after she's had a dose of this. The next bottle he took down had about 500 giant purple pills inside it. And it said on the front, "For horses with horse throats." Get the joke? And on the label it also said, "The horse-throated horse should suck 1 of these pills twice every day." Grandma may not have a horse throat, George said, but she's certainly got a sharp tongue. Maybe they'll cure that instead. And inside the saucepan went the 500 pills. There was a bottle of thick yellowish liquid. It said, "For all farm animals, bulls and bullocks included." The label said, "It will cure cowpox, cow mange, crumpled horns, bad breath in bulls." Brilliant! Earache, toothache, headache, hoofache, even tail-ache and sore udders. Grandma's pretty much like a grumpy farm animal, so I'll put all of this in there and it'll cure all those rotten illnesses in one go. With a slop and a gurgle, the yellow liquid splashed into the now nearly full saucepan. The next bottle contained a brilliant red liquid, one just like this. It said, "For sheep having sheep dips." Very good. It said it was for sheep with sheep rot and for getting rid of ticks and fleas. That's definitely Grandma. Mix 1 spoonful in 1 gallon of water and slosh it over the sheep. Caution, do not make the mixture any stronger or the wool will fall out. The sheep will be naked. By gum, thought George, how I'd love to walk in and slosh every bit of it over Grandma. I'll watch the ticks and fleas go running. It'll be fabulous. How am I going to do this though? Tell you what I'll do. I'll just add it to the saucepan, thought George. He poured the bright red medicine straight into the pan. The last bottle on the shelf was full of pale green pills. One's just like this. It said on the top, "Pig pills. For pigs with pork prickles, tender trotters, bristle blight and swine sickness. Give 1 pill per day, and in severe cases you can give 2 pills per day. But more than that will make the pig rock and roll." Just the stuff. Perfect for my Grandma, thought George. She'll need a very big dose of that. And he tipped all the green pills into now the huge mixture that was in the saucepan. There was an old stick that was lying on the bench that had been used for stirring paint. George picked it up and he started to stir the marvellous concoction, and the mixture was thick as cream. And as he stirred and stirred and stirred, many wonderful colours rose up from the depths and blended together. Pinks, blues, greens, yellows and browns. George continued stirring until it was completely mixed together. But even so, there were still hundreds of pills lying on the bottom that hadn't yet melted. And there was his mother's splendid powder puff floating on the surface. I shall have to boil it up now, thought George. 1 good quick boil on the cooker is all it needs. And with that, he staggered back towards the house with the enormous heavy saucepan. On the way, he passed the garage, so he went in to see if there was anything he could find of interest. Once he'd been in the garage, he realised he'd added half a pint of engine oil to keep Grandma's engine going smoothly. He'd used some antifreeze to keep her radiator from freezing in the winter, and some grease to help her creaking joints. How kind of George. And then he went back to the kitchen. In the kitchen, George put the saucepan on the stove and turned up the gas flame underneath it as high as it would go. "George!" came the awful noise from the next room. "It's time for my medicine!" "Not yet, Grandma. There's still 20 minutes before 11 o'clock. "What mischief are you up to in there now?" she screeched. "I can hear noises." George thought it best not to answer this one. He found a long wooden spoon in the kitchen drawer and began stirring hard. The stuff in the pot got hotter and hotter. Soon the marvellous mixture began to froth and foam. A rich blue smoke, the colour of peacocks, it rose from the surface of the liquid, and a fiery, fearsome smell filled the entire kitchen. It made George choke and splutter. It was a smell unlike anything he had smelled before. It was brutal, bewitching, spicy, staggering, fierce, frenzied, full of wizardry and full of magic. When he got a whiff of it up his nose, The firecrackers went off in his skull and electric prickles ran across the backs of his legs. It was wonderful to stand there, stirring this amazing mixture and watch it smoking blue and bubbling and frothing and foaming as though it were alive. At one point he could have sworn he saw bright sparks flashing in the swirling foam. And suddenly George found himself dancing around the steaming pot, chanting strange words that came into his head out of nowhere. Fiery broth, rich as brew, foamy froth, rich as blue, fume and spume, and spongy spray, fizzle swizzle, let's shout hooray, watch it sloshing, watch it swashing, watch it sploshing, hear it hissing, hear it squishing, hear it doing everything. Grandma better start to pray. The time for delivery is not far away. Whew! George has been busy. He's been to the shed, he's been to the garage, he's been to the kitchen, he's even tried singing and dancing. I hope you like that, guys. You can see I'm no nominee for Strictly Come Dancing, can't you? Stay tuned, because tomorrow we'll find out what he does next with this amazing, marvellous mixture that has now come to the boil. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you again soon.